My name is Deb Rogers, and I'm the mayor in the village of Williamsville. I basically was advocating for choice in wearing masks. I felt that the businesses should be able to make a decision as to whether or not they wanted their staff and/or guests to wear the masks. And I think it was really government overreach when the county mandated it for all businesses, regardless of whether or not they wanted it. You really need to rely on questioning what's been happening. The last 2.5 years for shutting down a country for a disease that was virtually, a 99.98% survival rate. And we went as far as to shut down our country, our economy, our businesses, our schools. And we shut them down, but we never looked at what that fallout was going to be. So let's look at the learning loss. Let's look at the domestic violence increase, the child abuse increase, teen suicides, teen anxiety and depression. All of those are the fallout of shutting down a country for a virus that was essentially a 99.98 survival rate. So if you look at that and you take a step back and you say, wow, that was really a lot of fallout for a small percentage. Why was that being done? And I think if you sit and you ask yourself that question and think about it, I think you can come to your own conclusion. As we've all seen, there is certainly data out there showing that the vaccines have not been what they were initially rolled out to be, whether it was for the safety of it and or the efficacy of them. Initially I think it was if you get the vaccine, it was going to somehow prevent the transmission, and I think now we heard that it really doesn't prevent the transmission of the disease. I think what we saw, from the medical establishment was the doctors were feeling threatened and were being silenced because they were afraid of perhaps losing their medical license. So first step is researching, finding out the information from both sides, and then making a decision. And your decision should not be based on fear. Your decision should be based on the facts, and it should of both sides. And I would also say to go with your gut as well, because I think that we have that internal barometer that can really help us gauge what is the truth and what is a mistruth.
Okay, so we have Mayor Deb Rogers of Williamsville, New York. She catapulted to the grassroots spotlight during the lockdowns when she had the nerve to tell people in her town meetings that they had the choice to wear a mask or not during the meetings. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz singled her out and fined Mayor Deb and the Village of Williamsville for daring to speak for freedom. Even though other towns with supervisors and mayors who are men did the same thing, she did not back down. In fact, she doubled down. She joined Western New York Students First and was a spokesperson for the children in our schools to be able to have parental representation on and in school board meetings. She is definitely a mama bear and a leader we can all look up to. Deb Rogers! Come on!
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Reese, for putting this together today. It's really a great event. And so where and how I'm here today is 3 years ago I ran for mayor of the Village of Williamsville. And I ran for one reason, and it was to update our parks. And I kind of thought at that point, if I update the parks, I was going to try to fashion myself like a Leslie Knope of Parks and Rec. And I thought that that would be a great way to get some things done in the community and have some fun. And I had been mayor for 8 months, and then COVID hit. And so I was really sidelined at that point because I wasn't expecting that. And for me, the first point that I think I spoke out at a board meeting was when they mandated the vaccine for our healthcare workers. And I don't know if there are any healthcare workers here today. I personally didn't have any friends who were healthcare workers, but I was just really appalled by the fact that they were going to make it mandatory, because after all, what happened to the whole My Body, My Choice movement? That should also include your medical decisions. So fast forward a few months after that, I ran into a little bit of trouble with Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz. Evidently, I was supposed to be wearing a mask at all the meetings, and he didn't like that I wasn't wearing one. So I ended up, the Village of Williamsville was the only municipality in Erie County to be fined. We were fined a $300 fine. And, you know, at that point, I think the Buffalo News got behind Mr. Polenkars, and they started slandering me and calling me every possible name in the book that they were able to publish in that print, what do they call it, a newspaper these days? You know, the Buffalo News has not been a big fan of mine. There's certainly been other media outlets as well that have targeted people like myself that are really just trying to do one thing. They're trying to cancel us. They're trying to smear our names, and at some point, you know, they have succeeded. I will say I have lost friends and family since I've spoken out about this, but will also say that I've made a ton of new friends, and I, you know, if you know, I'll just say this: if I'm in bad company, it's company I want to be in, because everybody that I've met through this movement, the grassroots movement, have just been the most genuine, caring individuals, and I'm really proud to call all of you friends. And I'll just end on the fact that I have one more year as mayor. I'm not going anywhere. The Buffalo News and whoever else can keep targeting and shooting those bullets at me, but I'm here at least for another year, and I wish them luck.